Good morning, piano parents. Welcome to the Piano Parent Podcast. If you are just finding me, I'm glad to meet you. My name is Shelley Davis, and I have been a piano teacher for 30 plus years. My husband and I have four children. They're mostly grown now. Our youngest is 21. She still lives at home, but our older three are out and about, and they all were involved in music in some shape or form. So, between the combination of raising four children and having been a piano teacher for all these years and working with lots and lots of different kinds of piano parents, different levels of involvement of piano parents, I decided that creating a podcast would be a great resource to encourage other piano parents and other piano teachers who might appreciate my perspective on how to deal with parents who may not understand the world of piano lessons and piano practice. So this podcast has been going on since 2016, and if you've been around for a while, thank you for still hanging around. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different, and if you're new to the show, then I'm so glad you found me, and I hope that you'll be a longtime listener, that we can be friends and stay connected for a good long time. This is my first episode of 2024, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of fell off the wagon for the last few weeks of 2023. My schedule kind of got overwhelming for me, and if you've been keeping track, you'll see that there's a gap in the schedule. I tried to keep something coming every couple of weeks, but anyway, that's old. And the topic of today's episode is the ability to take inventory of our schedule and to maybe take a look at what's working so that we can celebrate that, and then take a look at what's not working and see how we can make some adjustments. And the new thing, if you've been a long time listener and if you are listening to the podcast, today is a combo episode. I am simultaneously doing an audio recording, but also a video recording, and that will be up on YouTube. And so you're welcome to just listen. I think you'll still get a lot of value from what I'm going to share today. But if you want to see what I'm doing, then I'll share the YouTube link in the show notes page. This episode is 355. So you'll find the show notes at pianoparentpodcast.com/355. And the reason I'm highlighting the fact that I'm videoing is, first of all, it makes me extra nervous. And I'm making crazy faces at the camera, trying to look at the camera. Also, over my shoulder over here is residue from my Christmas break. Whenever I'm not hosting students in my studio, I've got this table set up, and it's just kind of a catch-all table. I'll use it to maybe sort through things if I'm energized and trying to declutter my studio, or when we come in from a Christmas party, this is the first room right inside the front door, and so everything just kind of gets dumped in this room. And it's still messy. So if you want to see my messy workspace, go to YouTube. On my other side, some boxes over in the corner, I've got my Christmas music library, and those boxes are still out because when students come back next week, hopefully they're going to remember to bring their Christmas music back that they borrowed from me, and I can store that away and then let them borrow different books next year. So that's a topic for another day. With the new year, one of the things that I love about the new year is the opportunity to kind of take stock of how things have been going. I love the way my schedule affords me the opportunity to be off for a couple of weeks and just rest and do a whole bunch of nothing. But then once the season of the break it kind of winds down, then I'm energized and geared up and ready to start something new. And I want to try to do it a little bit better than what I had done in the past. And I hope you feel the same way. I don't know how your piano kid typically does with practicing at home or playing the piano on the days in between lessons. In my opinion, you are the most important variable, in addition to your child. They're the ones that really has to do the work, but you are their best supporter. Your piano teacher is extremely important, of course. They're the ones that are kind of guiding the ship, and they offer music, they offer instruction, they offer encouragement. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty of actually spending time at the piano on the days in between lessons, that falls on your shoulders. And especially if you have young children, I'm talking preteens, maybe even teenagers and younger, they're not developmentally equipped yet to keep themselves to a strict schedule. You know your kid, and if it were left up to them, when would they get up out of bed? When did they get up out of bed over this break? Unless you woke them up and said, "Oh my goodness, it's 11 o'clock. It's almost lunchtime. It's time for you to get up and get moving." The day you're burning daylight, my mother used to say. Also during the break, how often did they actually get dressed or take a bath or brush their teeth? Left to their own devices, they're going to do the least, typically, they're going to do the least amount that they have to do. And when they're busy with other fun things, playing with friends, playing video games, watching television, unless you stop that activity and remind them that they have some other responsibilities, they might not ever get to those responsibilities on their own. So, what I'd like to do today is I'd like to walk through a chart together, and I'm going to fill this chart in with my actual work week. I'll be transparent with you and let you know how my week measures up, and you can decide, "Oh, Shelley, you've got it all messed up. I don't want to do what you're doing." And that'll be good. If you don't like the way I'm doing things, good. You can do it better and differently on your own. You can learn from my mistakes. But maybe if there are some things that I do that you appreciate, then it'll encourage you to give it a try for yourself. If you consider that we have 7 days in the week, every week we have the same 7 days, and each of those days has 24 hours, then all of us have a total of 168 hours every week. And it's up to us how we choose to fill those 168 hours. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to pull up a chart, and you are able to get this chart for yourself if you go to the show notes at pianoparentpodcast.com/355. Then I'll have this exact same chart for you to download, and you can fill in with your own data, but I'm going to share my screen, and this is my 168 hours worksheet. I've got, first of all, an instruction page. We'll talk more about that. The second tab, I will fill in and share with you my work week, kind of what my typical week looks like. But then I've got extra pages if you want to try this for yourself and fill out your week. Then you've got a page for your piano kid to fill out the week with them, and then also a template that you can copy and do some of your own. And I've actually printed a hard copy of this worksheet. I'll show it to you right there. Well, you can't see. If you wanted to just print the page off and color it in, actually physically colored in with colored pencils or crayons, I think this would be a great activity for you to do with your piano kid to help them get a better idea of how they're spending their time. And when they say, "Oh, I don't have time to practice," or "I don't have time to do that thing," this will be a more tangible way that both of you can see if that's true. If nope, our schedule is completely booked and we don't have any free time or relaxation time, or maybe you're like me and I have that mindset that I don't have time, but when I plot out all of my activities, I've really got a little more free time than I realize. So what we're going to do is on this chart, you see that we've got the 7 days of the week, and starting with midnight all the way till 11 p.m., I've plotted out cells for each hour. I suppose if you wanted to go on the half hour or the quarter hour, you could really dig down and get to the nitty gritty. But for us, let's just focus on the hour. And the first thing that is non negotiable is sleep. And according to various studies, children should aim for 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night. So I'm going to plot out what I typically do, my typical sleep pattern. But then you can, with your piano kid, you two can decide on an appropriate bedtime and a time to wake up each morning. And then I have just put in a color swatch over here because on Google Sheets, it's easier to copy and paste than to go to the little paint can or whatever that is up there. And I just chose gray because the bedroom is dark when I go to sleep. So I'm going to copy this cell and come over to my week. And I typically, if I'm being honest, I typically don't go to bed until around 11. So I'm going to paint those cells gray, go to bed by 11. And then in the morning, I'm asleep at midnight. My alarm might start going off around 6, but if I'm telling the truth, I probably don't get up until closer to 7, especially on the Saturday. I'm probably not going to get up until around 8, maybe on Saturdays. I might be awake, but still kind of lounging around. On Sundays, kind of the same thing. I'll get up around 8. Over here on the instruction sheet, it says to also mark bath time and getting dressed in the morning. So on the days when I'm leaving and I have to be out of the house, I'm up, but getting dressed and all of that, I'm actually going to go ahead and fill in to 8 on these days too. So from about 11 o'clock to 8 in the morning, there's no activity going on other than sleep, getting up in the morning, getting dressed, getting started with my day. So that blocked out a whole lot of time already. Then the second thing over here is for your piano kids, we would consider this school to block in, choose a new color to shade in the time that you'll spend at school. Be sure to include the time traveling to and from school, and you might also include time for homework. Now, for parents, you might consider your work hours, essential tasks, priorities that typically don't change because we're kind of structuring what our typical week looks like, but I believe Michael Hyatt calls it your ideal week. And if you're wanting to plan, if I had the perfect week, this is what it would look like. But even within that perfect week, if you've got an 8 to 5 job, there are some things that are just non-negotiable that you can't change. And I decided to use green for this color because at work, that's the time that I am making money, hopefully. Your children are growing in their knowledge. So green for growth, green for money. Let me copy that color swatch and come back to my work week. On Saturday and Sunday, there is no green because I do not work on Saturday. I don't work on Sunday. Sometimes with my volunteer responsibilities with my local Music Teachers Association and some activities for my students, I'll have a one-off thing that might happen on a Saturday. For example, later in this month, my students are taking the Texas Music Teachers Theory exam. So that'll take up one of my Saturdays, but it doesn't happen every Saturday, so I'm not going to plot it here. My work week with my piano students, I typically start lessons. I start at 3:30. This box starts at 3, so I'm going to go ahead and plot it that way. And most days I teach until 7 o'clock. So I'm going to plot out from 3 to 7, and I'll paint all of those green because that matches my work schedule. Also, on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, those are the 3 days that I teach at the local daycare and the charter school. I have the opportunity to teach music at both of those locations, just general music classes. So I'm going to paint all of that green. So now my work schedule is pretty much filled in. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then also Monday through Friday every afternoon. Let's see what else we need to plot in on our schedule. Number 3 is for other activities. And thinking of your piano kid, that might be sports practices or dance class, your actual piano lesson, maybe church activities. Parents, if you're filling the chart out for yourself, you might be thinking about just your daily rituals, your other habits, personal goals, things that you want to make sure is on the schedule, things that typically happen every week that you don't want to change. I chose pink just because, I don't know, pink is a different color. Copy that, and let's come to my work week. On Sunday mornings, we are going to church. So I'm going to plot out by the time I get dressed and we travel and we have church and probably maybe go out to lunch after church, that's going to block out all of Sunday morning. So we might get back home after church around 1 o'clock or so by the time we've done dinner and all of that. Let me think. Some other activities, practices, piano lessons, church activities, dance class. One thing that I try to do every week is I try to do my laundry on Fridays. So it doesn't take just a couple of hours to do laundry, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna block out from 10 to 11. We'll call that laundry time. Oh, and actually, I remember on Fridays, I start teaching earlier. I start teaching at 1 on Fridays, so that blocks out more of Friday. My friend Marilyn and I go for a walk most Friday mornings, so I'm going to let that be a pink activity, and I'll put that up here by the time I travel and we walk for about an hour and travel back home. Now, all of a sudden, my Friday is booked between laundry and walking with my friend and then teaching until 7 or later in the afternoon. Friday is done. So when I'm planning extra things that I might want to do, Friday isn't a day to plan that out unless I cancel on Marilyn or delay doing laundry until Saturday. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Well, I also try to do my podcasting on Monday mornings. So, what do you think? Should I make that pink because it is an other activity, kind of a fun activity that I enjoy? I don't think I should make it green because podcasting is not something that I make money off of. I'm going to go with pink and plot out Monday mornings. I also, on Monday afternoons, I meet with some other podcasters, other people online. We do a Zoom call every Monday and just kind of share with each other our successes and our goals and our plans. So that leaves me just about an hour on Mondays free before I start teaching lessons. So then all of the space that is white on the schedule, that's step number 4. Those are the free spaces. And if you don't have at least 2 empty spaces Monday through Friday, or at least 5 or 6 boxes available on Saturday and Sunday, I very seriously recommend that you reevaluate your commitments. Too many activities can cause unnecessary stress for you. And then I don't know how you are as a mom, but when I'm stressed, that tends to trickle down to my children. I kind of bark and I'm less patient with my children than I would be if I were in a better emotional state myself. If you have too many things going on, rather than enhancing your life, it can actually detract from your life and create more tension. Um, Thinking from a parent's perspective, when you fill out your chart, maybe this time could be used to connect with your spouse without rushing to the next event. Spend some time with your children. So I'm looking back at my week, and so I've got all of the rest of Sunday. Oh, that's just I see that we've got church Sunday morning, but then the whole rest of the day is wide open. If my husband and I want to go out on a date, or if Tracy and I decide we want to pull out some kind of sewing project or a painting project, we've got some flexibility and some time to relax and do that. Also, my Saturdays are open. That's one thing that my husband he's been kind about it, but he's been pretty intentional about it too. I've never considered teaching students on Saturday because that's sacred time for my family. It is designated time, and a student is not going to interfere. They're not going to get in the middle of my family time. What we choose to do on that Saturday varies from week to week. We might leave Friday night and take a road trip, and our older son lives in College Station. That's about 3 hours away from here. And my husband went to A&M, so it's fun to go back to College Station and see some of his old stomping grounds. Maybe catch an Aggie game if maybe basketball or football is in season. So anyway, our Saturdays are open for that opportunity to reconnect with each other or just have some downtime, maybe sleep in. Maybe I'll choose to sleep until about or stay in bed until about 9 o'clock on a Saturday instead of getting up at 8. We've also got some free time or in my schedule, I've got free time every weekday, Monday through Friday, from 7 o'clock until I go to bed around 11 o'clock. Honestly, by the time I'm done with these busy work days, sometimes I just want to veg. I haven't considered a family meal or a dinner or anything like that, which is usually that's the next thing that we do. As soon as I get off work, okay, it's time to have our evening meal, and then we might watch a couple of hours of television or something like that. In my mindset, I feel like I'm just go, 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 busy, busy, busy all the time. And sure, there are things that I would like to do, but who has the time? But when I plot out all of my actual activities and the things that I'm really responsible for, I see that I really have a little more time than I imagine. And it's helpful to remind me, you do have a little bit more time than you're thinking. But I can also be realistic with myself and recognize that those busy days, especially the days that I teach away from my home, the days that I'm on campus at school, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those are busy go go days. And I can give myself a break and not feel responsible or feel like I'm being unproductive if I don't do anything on those evenings when I'm finished with my long work day. I call it a go-go day. When Carrie, my older daughter, was in first grade, she went to a private school and they called their teachers by their first name. Her teacher's name was Miss Beth. And Miss Beth kind of made each day its own theme. And one day of the week, I don't remember which day it was, but that was their go-go day because they had PE that they had to get to. They had art and they had music. They had all of these different extra classes, extracurricular or specials that they went to outside of their core curriculum, outside of the time that they spent in the classroom. So Miss Beth just called it, this is our go-go day. And so it's time to go to PE. It's time to go to art. And that structured the way she handled her own lessons that day. She didn't try to get into an in-depth, long, intense lesson on a go-go day. She would save that for a day when they had more time in the classroom. So that might be something that you do with your family. Since I have a little more flexibility on Mondays and Friday mornings when I'm out to meet my friend Marilyn anyway, then while I'm out, I might make a stop by the grocery store or run some errands or go to the music store or I'll do my errands, my go-go, my things that I need to do outside the home, try to do that on the days that I'm out and about anyway so that when I'm done with my work day, I can just relax and just be at home. So let's go back to the chart. And I can see that if we're thinking about this for your piano kid, once we see all of that free space, then the last thing to plot on the chart is your practice time. So ideally, you still have several empty boxes each day. Schedule a time that you will practice the piano, shade that box with your favorite color. Now you have a plan for regular piano practice. And blue is my favorite color, so I chose to use blue for this. And I can see I've got all this allotted time. One thing I'm trying to do for the new year is I want to spend more time reading and I want to spend time walking. It's one of those deals where I know I should be walking and I feel like I'm really active on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the days that I'm up and teaching. I stand up when I teach at the school. When I'm home teaching piano lessons, I'm sitting down the whole time. So I feel like I'm active part of the time, but there are other days of the week that I need to be a little more active. And as I get older, I know that my knees and my joints will thank me if I keep them active now. It will make things easier for me as I get older. So when can I plot out that I'm gonna walk every day? See, that's a hard decision to make. Let's just go ahead and after I finish my evening meal, let's just plan on maybe at 8 o'clock, we'll do some walking. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, let's plot that out. Those are going to be, I'm calling walking my practice. For your piano kid, this would be the time when they spend at the piano. And I still need to do some walking and reading on the other days. Maybe on Sunday, I'll do the walking and the reading as soon as I get home. And maybe on Saturdays, I'll do it first thing in the morning, just get it done, and then I've got the rest of my day. So now I need to figure out Monday and Friday. I think I'm going to plot in 8 o'clock on both of those days too. There we go. So now, when I originally thought I didn't have time to do these extra things that I want to do, I can see that really I've got more time than I realized. And I've still got some flexibility in my schedule that allows me to adjust if I need to, but it also allows me some downtime where I'm not responsible for anything in particular. I'm looking back at our instruction page. Oh, I am the world's worst at breaking appointments with myself. So I already have a feeling that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever I have had a really long day, I can see myself opting out of the walking part. The reading won't be a big deal because I'm just going to be sitting at home anyway. So I can see reading happening. I have a tendency to collect books, I and I say that intentionally because in my house right now, it's the collecting, but not the actual reading, and I want to do better with reading, and so far this year, I'm doing a much better job, but I know that my schedule is fixing to kick in next week when piano students come back and I'm back on my full work schedule, and so, if I don't make a plan now, it can easily slip off of my radar. In fact, that's one of the things I put on the chart. If you don't schedule piano practice, chances are it won't happen at all. And if you don't schedule time for yourself and schedule time for the things that are important to you, but you're not accountable to outside sources for, then those can get slipped by the wayside as well. Your work, you wouldn't dream of not showing up for work. You're accountable to your boss, you're accountable for receiving that paycheck and taking care of your family. That's a non-negotiable, but maybe spending time for yourself, relaxing, reading a book, or taking a walk and getting out in nature. Yeah, I wanted to do that, but I'm kind of busy. I have to do these other things. I'll do that tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. That's my tendency. So I hope this will help you. I know it helps me to get a better grasp on the things that I'm really responsible for and plot out time for the things that I would like to do. Maybe those New Year's resolutions that we want to have happen, but how are we going to make it happen when everything else is going on? And I hope that it helps you and your piano kid come to a really good understanding. Both of you can be on the same page about when piano practice happens. You can plot out time. Sure, here's time for video games. Here's time for reading a book or relaxing or playing outside, riding your bikes. We've got time for all of the things that you want to do, including practice your piano lessons. And won't you be so proud when you go back to your piano lesson and your teacher is so excited for the things that you have learned and mastered this week? And now you can move on to some new music instead of being drudged into the same music that you haven't practiced for the last several weeks. I wish you and yours a wonderful 2024. Um, for my family, we're going to have some turbulent things coming up. My husband is having some health issues, but he's doing really well so far. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll know more about it. But other than that, I'm not gonna share too much of my personal stuff. You didn't come here to hear about me. You came here to learn how you can help your piano kid. So I hope that 2024 is a good year for you. Thanks for tuning in today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.